Kim Yong-jun, seemingly possessed, suddenly declares that none may covet the Fang Monarch's sword and, with blood-red eyes, slaughters his fellow hunters in a brutal rampage. As the survivors reel from the carnage, a chilling wolf howl echoes through the ruins, signaling the arrival of monstrous wolf beasts. Beru senses a monarch's presence emanating from the darkness, a familiar yet ominous force, and explains to Suho that, although many monarchs once existed, all but the Shadow Monarch perished at Sung Jinwoo's hand. The wolf attacks intensify, catching the miners off guard. Suho valiantly defends them, utilizing his shadow goblins and stone axes, but the wolves prove formidable, their fangs shattering even the strongest weapon. Relying on the immortality of his summoned shadows and clever tactics, Suho manages to lure most of the wolves into a narrow passage, which the miners block with mana crystal carts, buying precious time. Tension mounts among the survivors as they wonder how the magical beast penetrated so deeply, fearing that the attack team ahead has been wiped out. Beru, deeply unsettled, confirms that the aura they sense belongs to the Fang Monarch, a being whose death should have been absolute. He suspects that only remnants or echoes of the monarch's power remain, as true resurrection is impossible without the Shadow Monarch's authority. Beru urgently urges Suho to escape, warning that he is still desperately weak and could be killed in an instant by a monarch-level threat. Suddenly, the barricade explodes open. Instead of a wolf, Kim Yong-jun steps forth, his expression cold and dead, sword in hand. He attacks a fellow miner, only narrowly missing thanks to Suho's swift use of ruler's authority. Declaring the area sacred ground of the King of Beasts, Kim Yong-jun emanates a suffocating killing intent that triggers a wave of supernatural fear, halving Suho's stats and leaving everyone paralyzed with terror. Beru again urges retreat, but as an emergency quest appears before him demanding the defeat of the murderous enemy, Suho, despite his weakness and the overwhelming odds, decides not to run. Against Beru's desperate pleas, he readies himself to fight. As the tension in the dungeon reaches a boiling point, Suho refuses to abandon his fellow miners, even though escape seems impossible with wolves blocking every exit. While Beru insists that Suho's life is all that matters, Suho stands firm, unwilling to leave the people behind. The ghost of the Fang Monarch, inhabiting Kim Yong-jun's body and surrounded by wolves, revels in the fear of the miners, convinced of his own superiority and intent on slaughtering all the weak before him. He orders his wolves to attack, but the shadow goblins throw themselves in his path, sacrificing themselves despite their fear and confusion, only to rise again after being cut down, their bodies restored by the shadow power. The miners, in their desperation, flee deeper into the dungeon, only to be chased by wolves, while the ghost turns his attention toward the gate leading back to Earth, his hunger for life intensifying. Just as he prepares to lead his horde out, a stone axe thrown by Suho interrupts him, sparking a relentless game of taunting and pursuit. Suho pelts the ghost with axes, provoking his anger and sending the wolves after him, but Suho repeatedly vanishes into the shadow dungeon, evading every attack and emerging again to throw yet another axe. The ghost, growing increasingly frustrated, cannot catch Suho nor even track his scent, while the miners watch in stunned disbelief at his seemingly reckless, yet incredibly effective tactics. Despite their doubts about Suho's usefulness as a summoner, since his shadow goblins had all perished and his mana is nearly depleted, they can't help but admire his courage and audacity in the face of overwhelming danger. Unbeknownst to everyone, Suho has prepared a final trick. Among the pack of wolves are shadow wolves in disguise who attack the ghost at the crucial moment, distracting him just long enough for Suho to close in. As the enraged ghost lashes out and destroys the shadow wolves, Suho seizes his chance and strikes, bringing down his stone axes with all his strength. The battle finally ends with Kim Yong-jun, possessed by the ghost, collapsing after two axes pierce his chest. As the quest completes, Suho's strength and energy are restored, but he remains cautious, knowing the sword Kim Yong-jun wielded is not ordinary. Using his powers, Suho disarms the corpse, and Beru eagerly attempts to claim the sword, only to be confronted by the sword's indignant spirit, the Fang Monarch's sword. Beru asks Suho if he can eat it, and the sword's voice grows suddenly polite at the threat. Before Suho can reply, a new wave of wolves attacks, but his leveled up stats allow him to cut through them with ease. Suho quickly asks to use the sword as his weapon, and the sword's ghost blusters until Suho's shadow absorbs its energy, overwhelming the ghost with the Shadow Monarch's power. Wielding Rakan's fang, Suho easily dispatches the wolves, all while the sword's ghost protests and boasts. Amid the chaos, Suho checks his quest reward and is thrilled to receive a runestone for the skill Storm Slash. Breaking the stone, he absorbs the skill and, following his instincts, unleashes a violent storm with his sword, mowing down over 10 wolves at once. The surviving wolves scatter, terrified, and Suho notes the powerful but costly nature of his new skill, which drains his mana completely. Beru scoffs at the skill's power, the sword's ghost boasts, and Suho, ignoring them both, returns to the miners. The rescued miners are awed by Suho's abilities and tactical restraint. They praise his calculated use of a trump card, not realizing he had only just acquired the skill. News of the dungeon incident spreads quickly, and reporters swarm. Hancock University, eager for the story, teaching assistant Lim, grateful to Suho, details Suho's actions to the press, but skepticism abounds. Many doubt that an E-rank summoner could have accomplished so much. Lim, loyal to his student, defends him fiercely, threatening to expose any reporting bias to the E-rank hunter community. That night, an article is published about Suho's exploits, but online reactions are mixed, with some dismissing it as exaggerated or as marketing for summoners. However, the story catches the eye of several guilds who see potential in Suho despite the doubt. The Black Tortoise Guild decides to send Suho a full-time scout offer, convinced it's a great opportunity for a rookie hunter. To their shock, Suho turns them down, leaving the guild's managers baffled and suspicious that a rival guild like White Tiger has already made him a better offer. After acquiring the Fang Monarch sword, Suho pressed forward through the dungeon, cutting down the wolves and leading the miners to safety. With the attack team gone, he alone protected the survivors, drawing awe from the miners, who could only guess at his seemingly endless stamina, unaware his strength was constantly renewed with each level up. As they reached the exit, Suho chose to remain behind, feigning exhaustion to allay concern, and set off to search for any other survivors at the urging of the sword, though it was clear none had survived the Fang Monarch's onslaught. Arriving at a chamber filled with the dead, Suho examined the bodies and discovered he could extract their shadows, hearing the anguished cries of the fallen hunters. Beru, meanwhile, searched for other relics, but found nothing. Curious about the Fang Monarch's background, Suho listened as Beru conjured shadow puppets to recount the tale of the monarch, the defeat of the Fang Monarch by the Shadow Monarch, and how the remnants of ruined worlds became the dungeons that drifted into Earth as a result of the Outer Gods' invasion. Rakan's Fang, diminished after the sanctuary's fall, confessed it had once been powerful, but was now only a shadow of its former self. After Beru extracted all information from the reluctant sword, time passed, and Suho returned to the outside world. Despite being inundated with offers from various guilds, all wanting him as a porter or collector, Suho declined, knowing he could grow far beyond what they imagined thanks to his unique powers. His thoughts lingered on the revelations from Rakan's Fang. There were more sanctuaries like this, one scattered across the dimensional rift, each possibly holding artifacts, but their power was fading and their locations uncertain. One such sanctuary's location was revealed, but it was currently occupied by the infamous Hyena Guild, a ruthless group with a criminal background. Beru cautioned Suho against making enemies while still weak, but Suho, undeterred, prepared to infiltrate the Hyena Guild's dungeon. Rather than wait and grow stronger, he decided to act immediately, intending to sneak into the dungeon and claim what he needed regardless of the danger. Under the cover of dusk, Suho approached the heavily guarded Guanxan field-type dungeon, long held by the Hyena Guild. Using his powers to slip past barbed wire and deactivate cameras, he entered the mist-shrouded mountain, guided by the faint energy of a sanctuary tied to Rakan's sword. The blue mist swirling through the mountain marked the intrusion of outer-dimensional magic, a sign that the sanctuary had wandered into this place from beyond. As soon as Suho set foot inside, packs of razor-clawed monkey monsters emerged, their orange-colored names indicating a formidable threat. Despite being surrounded, Suho remained unfazed, drawing on battle-hardened instincts from a past marked by endless struggle. As he fought, bodies of slain monsters piled up, and Suho seized the opportunity to extract their shadows, adding 5 shadow monkeys to his ranks. Beru, ever the observer and occasional participant, marveled at Suho's growing army, though he couldn't help but compare it to the legendary Shadow Legion of old. The deeper Suho went, the fiercer the monsters became. Stealthy Black Panther-like beasts, the Black Shadow Razan ambushed and quickly dispatched his shadow monkeys, demonstrating the clear difference in strength. Suho, undeterred, responded by unleashing Rakan's sword's contempt for the weak, skill briefly weakening his foes and then taking advantage of the confusion to kill and extract a Shadow Panther for himself. The newly created Shadow Leopard instantly pledged loyalty, joining the vanguard of his evolving force. As Suho advanced, each victory allowed him to replace weaker shadows with stronger ones, steadily transforming his army. But the path was growing more perilous, the monsters more cunning, and the opposition stronger. Finally, his approach was halted by the outposts of the Hyena Guild, signaling the next challenge that awaited him in the depths of Guanxon Field. At the outpost guarding the gate, Beru busied himself devouring mana stones left behind by miners, savoring their unique flavor despite his lingering desire for Rakan's sword, which remained firmly in Suho's possession. As Suho prepared to enter the gate toward the sanctuary, he noticed movement. A group emerged from the gate, but these were not miners. Cloaked in the night, their beastly scent and wild features betrayed their true nature. They were werewolves in human clothes. Rakan's sword explained that the power came from drinking the blood of the canine clan, a process that granted ordinary humans bestial strength, but also diminished the original clan's power. Suho pondered the strange circumstances, but the situation turned dire when the werewolves dragged out a group of terrified, duct-taped captives from a nearby warehouse, threatening them with violence for making noise. As one of the werewolves prepared to execute a pleading office worker, an axe flew from the darkness, beheading him and causing chaos among the pack. In the confusion, a group of shadow leopards, Rizan, notorious forest predators, sprang from the shadows, attacking the werewolves. The beasts were under someone's control, and the werewolves, despite their experience, were caught off guard by the ferocity and coordination of the assault. Another axe strike claimed a second werewolf, and panic spread as the deadly weapon boomeranged through the night. Suho, masked and hooded, revealed himself, his eyes glinting in the moonlight. He resolved to save the captives first, then deal with the aftermath. Rakan's sword unleashed a skill that filled the werewolves with terror, having their abilities and buying precious time. The leopards in Suho pressed their advantage, slashing at tendons and throats as the werewolves, shaken but still dangerous, turned their fury on Suho. A sudden urgent quest appeared. To survive, Suho needed to kill all remaining hostile werewolves. Half the task was already complete, and as the battle raged, Beru continued munching mana stones, marveling at their potency. Suddenly, Beru sensed a familiar, powerful scent emerging from the gate. Someone reminiscent of the Beast Monarch was about to join the fray. The origins of the Hyena Guild were always suspicious. A year ago, a group of low-life bullies from Guaxian suddenly awakened after a dungeon break on Guanxon, forming a guild and dominating the area through violence and exploitation, even forcing weaker hunters into dungeons as slave labor. The mystery behind their simultaneous awakening deepens when Suho connects it to the blood of the canine clan, hinting that something unnatural lies at the heart of their power. As Suho battles a pack of werewolves in the foggy mountains, a terrifying aura emerges from the gate. Brokey, the monstrous leader of the hyena clan, looms into view, radiating a pressure that shakes the entire mountain. The werewolves, driven mad and empowered beyond their limits, begin to overwhelm Suho, and even Beru warns that the opponent is far beyond what he can handle. With every strike, Suho's wounds mount, but his resolve doesn't waver. While Suho fights for his life, Brokey mocks both him and Rakan's sword, which Suho wields. The sword sees Brokey's insults to its slain master and demands blood. In a desperate gamble, Suho drives Rakan's sword into Brokey's thick neck, activating the ruler's power and unleashing a blade storm that spins the blade like a drill, causing Brokey real pain for the first time in ages. Still, the monster is unkillable, his regeneration outpacing Suho's ability to harm him, but the humiliation and agony are undeniable. Brokey's rage shakes the mountain, and as he moves to crush Suho, Rakan's sword, sacrificing itself, momentarily seizes control of Brokey's body and urges Suho to escape. But Suho doesn't flee. With the last werewolf slain, he receives new strength and the title of Wolf Slayer, boosting his power against beast-type monsters. Now, dual-wielding blades, Suho steels himself. The hunt is no longer about survival. It's about turning the tables on the monsters who once made prey out of humans. Suho's power surged as his title activated, granting him overwhelming strength against beast-type monsters. In a whirlwind assault, he annihilated Brokey, the Hyena Guild's commander, and destroyed the enemy's stronghold. Beru, delighted at the victory, asked to consume part of the defeated beast. Suho agreed, but only after securing Brokey's corpse for shadow release. Beru, having devoured Brokey's brain, revealed memories that clarified the true horror behind the werewolf transformations. Brokey had kidnapped a wolf cub, the last descendant of the canine clan, and relentlessly extracted its blood to create his minions, forcing the cub to endure this torment for a year. The source of the werewolf's power was not Brokey himself, but the stolen blood of this innocent creature. Following the clues, Suho found the battered wolf cub, its spirit broken and body frail from constant blood loss. In the aftermath of Brokey's defeat, Suho chose to rescue the cub, recognizing both its innocence and potential. Despite Beru's warning that the cub might one day become another Fang monarch, Suho decided to save it, believing in compassion and the possibility of change. He brought the wolf cub home, warmed it by the stove, and fed it nourishing food, gently coaxing it back to life. Rakan's sword, filled with sorrow and gratitude, acknowledged the end of the war and entrusted the fate of the clan's surviving heir to Suho. As the little wolf ate, a bond formed and Suho gained a new companion, the Fang wolf, now under his protection. The cycle of violence was broken not with another act of war, but with an act of kindness and hope for the future. As Suho is prompted by a new system message to name his pet wolf cub, he is surprised by the feature's existence. Beru, equally puzzled, explains that the pet system wasn't present in the original Shadow Monarch's level-up system, and muses that perhaps the system's functions have changed or were never fully known, since the original was created by a shaman seeking immortality. Beru points out that Suho's system isn't meant to turn him into a Shadow Monarch. There can only ever be one, and Sun Jin-woo, Suho's father, is truly immortal and rules over death itself. Instead, Suho's system is a guide for him to find his own path. After checking his status window, Suho realizes he's still far from the strength he once dreamed of as a child and resolves to keep growing stronger, especially by using dual swords. He also recognizes the importance of his new pet, the wolf cub, and names it Gray. Consulting Rakan's sword for advice, he learns that Gray, as a descendant of the Fang monarch, needs to eat well and play freely to reach his potential, since Brokey had starved him out of fear of his growth. Deciding that Beru will be the wolf cub's caretaker, Suho brings both Beru and Gray into the Shadow Dungeon, a domain inherited from the Shadow Monarch, but now overrun by wild monsters. Beru understands Suho's intent. The dungeon is the perfect place for Gray to train. However, Gray is weak and reluctant, his fighting spirit dulled by captivity. To remedy this, Beru uses his skill, Harsh Command, increasing Gray's stats and driving him into a frenzy. Now, with Beru as his nanny and a dungeon full of goblins as opponents, Gray's training as a predator truly begins. News of the Hyena Guild's human sacrifices sends shockwaves through the public, with outrage erupting across the internet. The fact that hunters preyed on other hunters for demons leads to a firestorm of criticism, not just for the Hyena Guild, but also for any guild associated with them, especially the powerful Reaper Guild. Inside the Reaper Guild, tension rises as guild leader Lim Taegyu grills his executives over their plummeting reputation. The departure of the S-Class Baek Yunho, who went on to form the Bayeko Guild, had already left a power vacuum. Lim Taegyu's solution had been to bring in Lee Min-sung, a wealthy and famous A-class actor, as vice president, hoping his fortune could buy strength for the guild. But as the guild became flashier, its public image only worsened. Lee Min-sung arrives late to a tense meeting, acting flippant and dismissive, but when pressed about his ties to the Hyena Guild, his mask slips, revealing deep resentment toward Lim Taegyu and the memory of his own privileged past. Despite their heated exchange, Taegyu keeps his composure and warns Min-sung not to underestimate the association's president, hinting at looming consequences. Outwardly, Min-sung storms out with bravado, but inside he seethes at being looked down upon, especially by someone he considered beneath him before the cataclysm. Desperate for revenge and to regain his pride, he orders his subordinates to track down the mysterious hunter who destroyed the Hyena Guild. Yet, all they know is that the hunter wore a mask and wielded twin swords, even picking up a werewolf's blade. Meanwhile, Suho is at peace within the Shadow Dungeon, watching his wolf cub Gray endure Beru's harsh training. Gray finally manages to kill a baby goblin solo, earning reluctant praise and a meal as a reward, despite his exhaustion. As Gray levels up, Suho is surprised to learn that his pet's growth also benefits him, receiving half the experience. A strange sense of guilt tugs at him as he watches the little wolf struggle to keep up with Beru's relentless regimen.